The bright studio lights of Today with Sheinelle Jones gleamed off the polished floor as cameras rolled and applause filled the room. It was supposed to be one of those easy, upbeat segments, Carrie Underwood, the country music superstar, talking about her new album, her fitness line, and the upcoming tour everyone had been buzzing about for months. The audience adored her. Dressed in a soft cream blazer and jeans, Carrie flashed that signature megawatt smile, looking calm, confident, and completely in control. Sheinelle Jones, sitting across from her, had her cue cards neatly stacked and her microphone adjusted just right. The two exchanged a few friendly remarks before the real conversation began. Everything seemed smooth, until it wasn't. "So, Carrie," Sheinelle began cheerfully, "you've been in the spotlight for nearly 2 decades now, and yet you always seem so composed, so perfect. Do you ever feel pressure to live up to that image?" Carrie tilted her head slightly, the corners of her smile tightening just a bit. "I don't think of it as pressure," she replied. "I just try to be myself and stay true to what I love, family, music, fitness. That's what keeps me grounded." The crowd nodded approvingly, but Sheinelle, doing what seasoned interviewers do best, pressed a little deeper. "Of course, but there's been some online chatter recently about how you've been posting more candid, unfiltered photos. Some fans say it's refreshing, others think it's your way of responding to people who say you've always been too perfect. Do you think that's fair?" The smile faded slightly from Carrie's face. She laughed politely, but there was no warmth in it. "Honestly," she said, choosing her words carefully, "I don't spend time worrying about what people say online. I've learned that if someone has time to criticize a photo of me lifting weights or taking my kids to school, maybe they need to find a better use for their day." A ripple of laughter came from the audience, but Sheinelle caught something sharp in Carrie's tone. "Still," she continued, "that's understandable, but you're such a role model to so many women. Don't you think fans deserve to know a bit more about how you handle that kind of pressure?" Carrie's expression shifted, her shoulders straightened, her tone cooled. "I think my fans know who I am," she said. "They've been with me from the start. I don't need to explain myself every time someone online decides to start drama." The tension was now unmistakable. Sheinelle tried to keep the conversation on track, but her next words only deepened the divide. "Of course," she said gently, "but when you say things like that, it can come across as dismissive to people who just want to feel seen or understood." Carrie's eyes flashed. "Excuse me," she said, leaning forward slightly. "Are you saying I should apologize for being confident?" Sheinelle blinked, caught off guard. No, not at all. I just meant," Carrie cut her off, voice firm and rising. "Because that's what it sounds like. Every time a woman shows confidence, people twist it into arrogance. I've worked hard for everything I have. I don't owe anyone an explanation for that." A hush fell over the studio. The audience, once lively, sat frozen. The crew behind the cameras exchanged nervous glances, uncertain whether to cut to commercial or let it play out. Sheinelle tried to diffuse the moment with a nervous laugh. "Carrie, no one's questioning your work ethic or confidence. I just wanted to have an honest conversation." Carrie's expression hardened. "An honest conversation?" she interrupted. "Because to me, it feels more like an ambush. I came here to talk about my tour and my music, not to defend my personality." Sheinelle's face fell. "Carrie, but it was too late." Carrie reached up, unclipped her microphone, and stood. The audience gasped audibly. "You know what," she said, shaking her head. "I don't have to sit here and be disrespected on national TV." She turned on her heel, her heels clicking sharply across the floor, and strode off set. The camera followed her for a split second before the director panicked and cut to a wide shot of a stunned Sheinelle sitting alone. For several long seconds, the show was dead air, no one moved, no one spoke. Then, the producer's voice boomed from behind the scenes, "Go to commercial. Go to commercial." The screen faded to black. Behind the scenes, chaos exploded. Stagehands whispered into their headsets, producers sprinted down hallways, and someone shouted, "Get her back." But Carrie was already gone, heading straight for the exit with her publicist trailing behind her. On set, Sheinelle sat frozen, eyes glistening. She took a deep breath, adjusted her papers, and whispered to herself, that did not just happen. It had, and within minutes, the internet would make sure the whole world knew it. By the time Today returned from commercial break, the incident had already taken on a life of its own. The control room scrambled to patch together a neutral segment, some light cooking demo that suddenly felt painfully awkward in the wake of what had just happened. But no one watching at home cared about omelet recipes anymore. Everyone was buzzing about what they'd just witnessed. Carrie Underwood walking off live television after a fiery exchange with Sheinelle Jones. Within minutes, clips of the tense moment spread across social media. Viewers rewound DVRs, screen-recorded the argument, and posted it with captions like, "Carrie loses it on live TV." And, "Sheinelle pushed too far." On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags began trending, hashtag Carrie storms off, hashtag Sheinelle vs Carrie, and even hashtag Today Show meltdown. Inside the NBC building, chaos simmered behind closed doors. Sheinelle sat quietly in her dressing room after the show ended, still trying to process what had just happened. A producer entered carefully, handing her a cup of water. "You okay?" he asked. She exhaled, shaking her head. "I honestly didn't mean to upset her," she said softly. "It was supposed to be a conversation about her career, her new album. I don't know how it went sideways so fast." "She's passionate," the producer offered, trying to lighten the tension. But Sheinelle could feel the weight of the moment settling in. She knew the clip would blow up. Live television had no rewind button. Meanwhile, Carrie was back in her hotel suite across town, pacing the floor with her phone lighting up every few seconds. Her publicist, seated nearby, scrolled through a sea of notifications. "We need to respond before this gets worse," she said. Carrie stopped pacing. "Respond to what? I didn't do anything wrong. She pushed me." "I know," the publicist replied carefully, "but people are already speculating. Some are saying you overreacted. Others are calling it a publicity stunt. We need to steer the narrative." Carrie rolled her eyes. "Let them talk. They always do. I'm not going to apologize for standing up for myself." Outside, paparazzi were already gathering near the hotel entrance, shouting questions to anyone who walked in or out. Entertainment blogs published side-by-side screenshots of Carrie's glare and Sheinelle's stunned expression. Comment sections filled with divided opinions. Sheinelle was just doing her job. Carrie's a queen for not putting up with fake questions. Y'all, that was uncomfortable to watch. Someone messed up. By mid-afternoon, Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, and People magazine all had coverage up. CNN even ran a short segment about the unexpected drama on morning TV. Every frame of the altercation was analyzed. The tone, the eye contact, the micro-expressions. Commentators debated whether Sheinelle had crossed a line or if Carrie's pride had simply gotten the better of her. At 3 p.m., NBC released a brief statement. "We value all our guests and strive for open, respectful dialogue. Sometimes, emotions can run high. We wish Carrie Underwood the very best." It was diplomatic, but vague enough to fuel more curiosity. An hour later, Carrie's team fired back with a statement of their own. Carrie Underwood was blindsided by unexpected and personal questioning during what was meant to be a positive interview. She chose to step away from a situation that felt uncomfortable. She appreciates her fans' continued support. The battle lines were drawn. Fans flooded both women's Instagram accounts with comments, some supportive, some hostile. On TikTok, users reenacted the moment with dramatic flair, lip-syncing Carrie's sharp, "I don't have to sit here and be disrespected," while pretending to storm off. But privately, both women were hurting. That night, Carrie sat on her balcony overlooking the New York skyline, scrolling through comments. She hated the drama but couldn't shake the anger. "Why do they always twist it?" she muttered. It was one question too far. Her husband called, his voice calm and steady. "Babe, you've got nothing to prove. Just focus on your music." Meanwhile, Sheinelle sat in her quiet apartment, replaying the moment over and over in her mind. She had done hundreds of interviews, politicians, actors, athletes, and never had one gone off the rails like that. She drafted an apology text to Carrie 3 times, but deleted it each time. She didn't know what to say without sounding defensive. The next morning, Today opened with Sheinelle addressing the elephant in the room. "Yesterday's interview with Carrie Underwood became more emotional than expected," she said, her tone measured but sincere. "I have great respect for Carrie, and I wish her the very best. Live television can be unpredictable, and sometimes, moments get intense." Later that same day, Carrie broke her silence on Instagram Live. Seated in her Nashville home with minimal makeup and a cup of tea, she looked calm but composed. "Look," she said with a small smile, "I don't like drama. I never have, but I also believe in standing my ground. Sometimes conversations get taken out of context. I respect Sheinelle and her show, I just needed to step away in that moment." Her fans flooded the comments with hearts and supportive messages. The video went viral within hours, reframing the story from one of conflict to one of self-assurance and boundaries. In the end, both women moved on gracefully, but the moment lived on. Clips of the walk-off became memes, remixes, and reaction videos. Ironically, Carrie's new single, Stand Tall, shot to #1 on iTunes that same week. For Sheinelle, the episode became a hard lesson in how a single misstep in tone could set off a storm. For Carrie, it was a reminder that even America's sweetheart could lose her patience and still come out stronger. And for everyone watching, it was live television at its most electric, raw, unfiltered, and unforgettable.